What does the word federal mean? You always hear the phrase, pay your federal income taxes. Now, what does this phrase consist of? 5 words. The use of the word federal is very important because all you people believe it means federal government has an income tax that you must pay. But why is it that no court will come down on the private IRS when it says it collects for federal tax? It is proven to be private and an arm of the Federal Reserve. This Federal Reserve controls the bank and the International Monetary Fund. Instead of going into proofs and making this a long speech to you, we find that agents of the IRS are controlled by foreign operatives, namely the governor of the International Monetary Fund and his second alternate, should he die, quit, etc. His replacement would be the Federal Reserve Chairman. Also, the alien property custodian, who you also know as the Attorney General of the United States, is also head member of Interpol in this country and is also a foreign operative. Both he and the Secretary of the Treasury, under Title 26 U.S.C. 7401, are who all agents take their directive orders from. Are they collecting for the federal government a federal income tax? No, they are not. Now we come to that aforementioned phrase that contains the word federal. We were all taught that this means a national government. Well, I think you are going to be very surprised as to what follows on that little misinterpreted word, federal, as we trace its origin. From the 1828 Webster's Dictionary. Federal, Entry 1. Pertaining to a league or contract, derived from an agreement or covenant between two parties, particularly between nations. So the real meaning of federal is a contract or agreement, and has nothing to do with a type of government, although it was a contract that formed government. So to get the point across, I will use the word federal in the place of contract or agreement as they are one and the same. Well, now, the IRS is a private agency. You, federal or contract or agree, when filing any form with the IRS under penalty of perjury, that is W-4, 1040, or any IRS form. Your signature compels you to the federal that you owe an obligation to the parties as listed above. Note it said parties and nothing to do with federal in its makeup. It said particular, but not inclusive. The next Webster's defining will show the word federal does not apply to only government. Entry 2. Consisting in a compact between parties, particularly and chiefly between nations and states. You are not mentioned here as you have no contract with any state or nation, as stated by the judge in the Padleford case. But indeed, no private person has a right to complain, by suit in court, on the ground of a breach of the Constitution. The Constitution, it is true, is a compact, but he is not party to it. The states are party to it, and they may complain. If they do, they are entitled to redress or they may waive the right to complain. Right here is all the proof you need that you are not party to any compact, contract or agreement with the federal government or state government for that matter under any constitution. So we move on in number 2 of Webster's definition, founded on alliance by contract or mutual agreement. Your mutual agreement is with a private organization using the word federal in a fraud because of people's ignorance. Remember, words are used against you every time it is in our read the criminal's best interest. Now, when you look at Black's Law Dictionary, they are carefully couched in constitutional terms in nations and compacts between the states and never use federal as defined by Webster's. Even Valentini's uses it, as does Black's. Now let's move to present day, 1969, Webster's 7th Collegiate Dictionary. This now states what the law dictionaries state and has thrown out the etymology of the word federal, so you would have no idea it means a contract between parties, leading you to believe everything federal pertains to government. Okay, so what about Federal Express? Does it mean Government Express? So I happen to have a 1911 Webster's Unabridged Dictionary, and the definition of federal is exactly word for word the same as the 1828 dictionary. So what happened in 1913 that changed the definition of federal to mean only pertaining to government? Think. Words are changed by men to mean what they want it to mean. The Random House Dictionary 1967 uses Webster's 1828 definition, but also includes what the law dictionaries define federal as. Here is proof as to how a word changes over the years by men that want control by starting to shove aside what federal really means. So the real word federal meant contract between men, parties, or agreement between them. So now you have a federal with the IRS and you, in the forms or statement you sign. When IRS takes you to court, the judge is sitting in equity due to that federal between you and the IRS, and he rightly rules always in favor of the IRS because you are breaching the federal contract you voluntarily made with them. For your federal income tax is in reality a contract tax, which you pay the private IRS for the use of the Federal Reserve Note. This is a simple explanation because you would have to read all I have written on Admiralty, the foreign control by the international bankers and the control of the private bar asn, over the equity contract you placed yourself in, by signing the agreement of the IRS form, no matter what it might be. Now this is where the UC kicks in, and there are cases I have posted from time to time that proves they operate in UC duty or federal with them. Sounds odd when you describe that contract with them, doesn't it? That is your voluntary nature of the private income tax under fraud of the use of words to ensnare you. Once voluntary, it then becomes mandatory to pay your contract or federal income tax. This information has been written in authorized use expressed by The Informer, year 2007.